folks, on that note, I believe my GPS decided to speak up, and so we're just going to scrap the introduction. Thank you, Siri, for that wonderfully professional introduction to my to this week's episode of Welcome to My World / Dominique Does Life. And today, I sure as heck hope I put this on the right show and didn't put it on Spoonie Reviews, because I did it very quickly while I was pulled over to the side of the road as I'm on my way to an appointment. So, but this is the time that I have with you, and I just want to make it count, because this is an important topic. At least it's very important to me. So I want to tell you, without further ado, about the book that I am writing. I am currently researching and just in the very earliest stages of writing a book about September 11th, 2001. Now, I thought a lot about this when the idea first struck me to write about this. And I'm very much somebody who doesn't want to retell a story that's already been told in a more cogent way or with a more appropriate perspective, or that's really already been covered from so many various angles, if you will. But as I was doing my preliminary research, and as I was just, beginning to look into doing this, it struck me that the book I wanted to write was not about the mechanics or the optics of the events themselves that occurred, the very tragic events that occurred on the morning of September 11th, 2001. What I wanted to write was a book about America's collective experience and how America processed this, how America saw this as a whole, how America viewed this life-changing, incredible, world-changing event. Okay. Now, I did a fair amount of looking to make sure that there wasn't already, another sort of anthology or collaborative effort out there. From what I've found, and please tell me if you do know a book or a publication of some sort that includes sort of an anthological tale, an anthology, a collection of stories and something that goes along the same, the same bent, the same vein of telling America's story as a whole by collecting individual stories. If you know of such an undertaking, please let me know, and I'd love to kind of make sure that what I'm trying to do hasn't already been done. So if you do know of something that is already out there that fits this description, I'd love to know. I've been looking. I'm not finding anything. I see a lot of very unfortunate conspiracy stories. This is not something that I'm interested in contributing to, certainly. And I see quite a lot about the mechanics of what happened and the timeline of what happened and the politics and the geopolitics and the economics of what happened. I don't see an actual anthology out there. I don't see an actual collection out there of stories from the points of view of Americans all over the world, and that's what I'm looking to do. So, as you can probably imagine, this is not a very fun or comfortable subject to research, but I think it's necessary. Something that's necessary for all of us to examine, because it's something that I think that many of us, if not all of us, have not fully processed yet. And I guess that part of what I want to do is to assist in the processing of this American experience of this event. So this is a portion of what I'm aiming to do. I want to assist people in processing this event, and I just want to look at the human aspects of it. I want to look at the human aspect of what happened, and I want to look at how America experienced this as a whole, as I mentioned before, through the lens of individual stories. I may or may not sort of categorize stories, and just sort of work from, hey, this group of people had this collective experience across the globe on that day. This group of people had another collective experience. I may work from that standpoint if I can find enough similar stories, and that's where you come in. I want to interview you. I don't care where you were. It would be very, very helpful if you did experience something firsthand, secondhand that day. I would really love to talk with you, but even if you didn't, even if you were somewhere else, I really do want to just talk to Americans about their stories on this day, about how they experienced things on this day, okay? So if you are comfortable being interviewed, I don't have to include your name, unless, of course, your story is very prominent and you would like your name included. I don't plan to include full names of people who provide their stories. So far, I'm going with first names from the stories I've compiled thus far. And I just want to aim to lend a different perspective. And like I said, lend a perspective that sort of stems from the country herself, from America as a collective group of people, from America as a whole. I believe that there is such a thing as collective experience, collective grieving, collective, processing of loss, of hurt, okay? And I think that this is something that just might strike a chord with readers. So I'm very interested to hear your stories and to put this book forth. I really do want to look at it, like I mentioned, as a collection, as an anthology, as something that really encapsulates the event from a group perspective. Now, if you do have something you would like to have me include, I would really be very happy to hear from you. You can find me on my show's Facebook page, which I will be honest with you folks, I don't market too much. It's a rather new page. Don't be discouraged by that. Please send me a message anyway. It is Dominique Does Life, and it is Welcome to My World. Welcome to My World, Dominique Does Life. You'll find it. It's on Facebook. It's got posts on the page about my forthcoming book, and it's got posts about this show. You'll see it. You can look up Welcome to My World. You can look up Dominique Does Life. If you look up Welcome to My World, you're bound to find it, because there are lots of posts from my YouTube channel and from this podcast. So what I'd like you to do once you find that page is to message me on Messenger via that page. Okay, so let me know what your story is. And if your story is something that is a little bit on the longer side, I'd love to have a phone or a Skype interview with you if you're not in the Chicago area, which I'm sure many of you are not. And if you are in the Chicago area, I'd love to sit down with you for a moment and, collecting, the thoughts and the feelings of various people, but more than anything, I'm interested in collecting your stories and binding them together, stringing them together in a very genuine and organic way. Like I said, I think that each of our stories is part of the sort of collective American experience of that day. And I think that's a story that people would be interested in reading, and it might even assist in further digestion, further I don't want to say moving forward, but in just digesting this issue and dealing with this and processing this thing that happened that was just, beyond words. Because historically speaking, the things that are passed on, in the collective unconscious and through word of mouth in human history are the things that defy explanation and that sort of defy words, right? And events like this do tend to shape human history and tend to shape individual humans as well. So I think that this is something that bears writing about. And let me know what you think about that too. Are you sick and tired of hearing about this? Do you want to hear more about this? Like I said, if you're one of the I want to hear more about this people, or you'd like to tell your story, please contact me at Dominique Does Life, Welcome to My World on Facebook. Okay, you can look up that page, message me there, and let me know what would be the best way to get in contact with you so that we can sit down and get your story on paper. And I thank you ahead of time, and I want to thank everybody that I have interviewed so far. You are amazing, and your stories have just been deeply touching, and they certainly affect me as the person recording them, as the person writing them. And like I mentioned, this has not been an easy subject to research. It's certainly not a fun pursuit. Not that I thought it would be in any way. It's certainly not a fun pursuit or a lighthearted pursuit of any kind to be watching videos and listening to audio and listening to the released recordings from the air traffic controllers on September 11th, knowing what's going to happen. It's an awful, awful thing to have to turn your mind to, but I think it's a story that is also very compelling and that it needs to be told, and that we could really get some value from telling from that collective perspective. So please do reach out if you are comfortable telling me your story and having me potentially use your story in my forthcoming book. Like I said, I'm at the research and beginning stages of writing. I am not anywhere near releasing the book. I think that it would be a good time to release it any time between 6 months from now and September 11th, 2021. Okay, so I'm going to take my time with this one. I want to get facts straight. I want to tell all of the stories that need to be told. I want to, even if just telling your story to somebody helps you to process, I want to be a part of that. I want to assist you in doing that. And I want to know how it's impacted your life. I mean, I know it's impacted everybody's life, right? So how has it impacted your life in particular? What has changed for you? Maybe something on your life path has changed. Maybe, like me, you were in college when that happened. Maybe you chose a different path. Maybe you entered into the military. Maybe your life changed in some way, or maybe your perspective just changed. Maybe you were hit with that feeling of, oh my God, I'm not, my safety really isn't guaranteed in this life, right? So any number of things may have changed for you in your life may have changed for your loved ones in their lives. And I'd like to hear about that. So, in addition to your stories, please let me know how this event, if it has, and I'm sure it has in some small way at the very least, please let me know how it has changed your life. So again, thank you in advance, and thank you one more time to the beautiful, strong, amazing people who have already shared their stories with me. If you have video footage, if you have audio footage, I would like to, well, I don't like to see it, but I need to see it. I'd prefer to see it or hear it, because it may help with my perspective, and it may, who knows, it may help to tell other people's stories that you're not even aware of, right? So, if you have something like that and you're comfortable sharing, please let me know. If you have released something like that on YouTube, which is the main sort of video forum that I'm using right now to do video research, please expect to see me on your channel. I am doing some really intensive research right now when I have the time to do so. Please expect to see me on your channel. You may see me commenting. I'm not very likely to do it under my professional page or under my podcast page at Dominique Does Life. You're likely to see me simply under Dominique Miller, okay? And if you see Dominique Miller, you see a picture of a curly-haired, dark-haired woman with like light to medium skin and a flowery shirt and magenta lipstick. That is me. That is me. I'm telling you right now. I'm a real person. I'm not trolling your page. I really, truly am writing this book. So if you see me, please feel free to come visit me on my Facebook page and message me, because I truly am the person that I claim to be, and I am writing this story. And if you have put forth such videos or audio releases onto YouTube or another similar platform, I thank you for stepping up and being courageous and for sharing a story that I'm sure it was extraordinarily difficult to first go through and then decide to share. So thank you for that. But if you see me, again, I'm me. I'm a real person. I'm not trolling your page. I have gotten some good responses so far from folks who have released YouTube videos, and I am certainly reaching out to people who I think might have unique perspectives on what happened that day. And if you have one and I don't know about you and you have not yet heard from me, once again, I've said it about 1 million times already, reach out to me. You can reach out to me at just Dominique Miller on Facebook. I am from Algonquin, Illinois. You can find me on Facebook, but I would prefer, just so that I can keep everything straight in my mind and organize things properly, I would prefer that you reach out to the Welcome to My World page that has all of my Dominique Does Life stuff on it. So you can also find me on Twitter at Progressive Dom. So you can reach out to me on any of those platforms. Again, I would prefer, if you're capable of doing so, that you visit me on Welcome to My World, and where I share my Dominique Does Life show, podcast, YouTube channel stuff, because that is my sort of professional author / public personality page, right? And yes, you're going to see a lot of Dominique Miller pages. I've run for office several times. I have a political community engagement page. You're not going to want to use that one. I have a couple of backup Facebook accounts, so that in case something happens to my regular account, I can log on to my business page. But you're really going to want to go for that Welcome to My World, Dominique Does Life Facebook page. That's where I would prefer that you go, just so that I don't, overlook your message. On my personal page, I get a lot of reader feedback, a lot of listener feedback, a lot of viewer feedback a lot of, political and community engagement messages, and I just don't want to miss your message. And I don't want my, spam filter, which goes crazy because of how many messages I receive, to block out your important message that I asked you to send me, right? So definitely I will include the link at some point when I am off the road here, but find me on Facebook at Welcome to My World /Dominique Does Life, okay? And just know that if you want your name kept confidential, if you want your name to be changed, I'm more than happy to do that. If you are going to be providing me with some sort of specific information, perhaps you're going to be referring to something that happened that I'm not yet aware of or that isn't publicly available information, I will have to document that if you're going to be referring to some sort of important piece of info that really isn't available out there to the public at this time. But other than something, rare like that, I really am just going to take your word for it that your story is what you say it is. It's really more about the human experience. Just for my writing, I do need to establish a timeline of events, and I've done that, and I'm continuing to work with that, but that's really not what the story is about. It's about human experience, right? So don't worry, I'm not going to be delving into your personal life or anything like that. Whatever you choose to share, you can share. Whatever you don't feel comfortable sharing, keep to yourself. I certainly am not here to put anyone on blast or out anybody. I actually thank you for your courage and for your compassion and understanding and your kindness, and I certainly thank you for assisting in telling this collective story. So no need to fear, no need to worry, no need to, be concerned that somebody's going to be delving into your personal life. I have standards as somebody in the mental health field. I'm not going to do that. I do appreciate people's boundaries. So if you feel comfortable sharing that story, you share it. If you don't feel comfortable sharing portions of it, that's okay. Share what you feel comfortable sharing. So folks, I think that's about going to do it. If you have any questions about my book or anything like that, please feel free to shoot them at me, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. This is certainly not, we'll put it this way. This is going to be something that's written in good taste and in good faith. It is not going to be anything having to do with conspiracies or conspiracy theories, so that's definitely not a story that I'm going to be able to help out with. If that is something that folks are going to want to talk about, I respectfully decline. So, I just want to hear what your experiences were on the day of the actual events, I should say. And like I mentioned, I want to help America as a whole process these events by looking back at them and kind of seeing that, each of us weren't alone, and that America experienced this as a whole, right? We had this emotional experience, this emotional journey as a collective, as well as individuals. And I think that might be something that, like I mentioned, people are interested in reading. So if you're willing to contribute, please head over to Facebook. I am here to listen, and I appreciate it very, very much. Now, I am definitely looking for, like I mentioned, stories from people who were anywhere in the world, Americans that were anywhere in the world on that day. So no doubt about it. I'm looking for stories from people who were anywhere in the world. I'm not going to, say that you certainly just had to be in New York City or at the Pentagon or something. No. Wherever you were, I want to hear your story. I want to hear your perspective. Like I said, this is about America as a whole. But I am very interested in hearing from folks who perhaps had something to do with air traffic control that day, who had something to do with building management that day, who had something to do with being an emergency services operators, police, ambulance drivers and EMTs, fire people, clergy people. If you were a first responder on that day, and even if you weren't in New York City or at the Pentagon, I want to hear your story. I want to hear how you felt about this. But if you were involved in a situation and in assisting or in dealing with the unfolding attacks or the aftermath of the attacks, I'd love to hear your story. I think that it will be helpful for America to hear what some of the people who maybe knew or were beginning to sense that they might lose their lives were feeling. Because I think that's something that folks wonder about and try to wrap their minds around. So that's something that might be of interest to readers. So you've got your marching orders, folks. Please get back to me with your stories. I really am so thankful for everybody who has shared so far, and I really do hope to hear from you very soon. And just know that your story will be treated with the utmost dignity and respect, as will you, okay, and compassion and empathy. Thank you in advance, folks. Have a wonderful evening, and perhaps move on to a more lighthearted topic after this heavy broadcast. Thanks so much, guys. Be well.